little late this evening, only about 18 minutes, and I don't feel like that should count.
Sorry.
No, we have technical difficulties. We have them all the time. It happens. That's part of the internet age, right? I'm trying
Yeah.
to see when it pops up on my phone. All right, so we are here tonight live with Miss Laine Watson, and I always point the wrong way. I'm Rachel. I'm half of yours truly, and that's Dawn. Damn it, still the wrong way.
I have it all up and down, so like you're up there. Anyway, I'm Dawn. I'm the other half of yours truly.
Yeah.
Then in the middle, right? Middle.
No, she's not in the middle. She's on the far side.
I'm trying to refresh.
I don't even see it.
Oh, I see it.
I see it.
Oh, so she's over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of.
Laine.
All right, Laine, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Hi and stuff. I'm Laine Watson and I write books and they're cool, I think. So
what kind of books do you write? What's your favorite genre kind of stuff?
Okay, so I think that I've written lots and lots of books and in like mostly romance. But I have like these kind of also weird historical books. Um or just kind of Tim Burton books too. So I feel like I have two voices. I have like a definite new adult voice, and then that is like romance, and then I have like this kind of again weird dark voice, I guess. And but they're both equally amazing to me. I like to do those. Yeah. Sorry.
Fun. No, don't be sorry. Fun. Fun. If I could write a book, I would be doing good. That's why I work on this
if my
side.
mind would go off, then I could finish books.
Oh, I don't want to hear that. I already told you before we actually went live that I was going to harass you on the amount of books that you already have backlogged and written. You have written so many books. I know for a fact because I have a list of them. Like, hey, these are all the books I've already written. Hey, Sonia.
Oh,
hi,
Sonia.
Hey.
The woman popped up like on my computer. That's never happened before. Yay. She's like, hey. All right. So Laine and I and Dawn, we've been working together for a while now, since like June.
June?
Quite a few months. I beta.
It was even like spring, wasn't it? I remember when we were getting the initial messages from her, we were out mushroom hunting in the woods. So that's so you
Dawn is not nature.
Yeah.
I live in Florida. The weather does not change. It's generally just hot. It's actually cold here right now, which is weird. But
what do you say is cold? What do you count as cold?
It's like 40. You live in Ohio, your grasp of cold is skewed. Okay. Yeah. If it snows in Florida, look out. It's over.
And you're in the Midwest also, aren't you, Laine?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh. Georgia.
Really?
Yeah.
I was thinking Midwest. Okay.
Well, I'm from St. Louis, so maybe we had that conversation. I don't know.
Yeah, but Atlanta, y'all are warm. I came home from work just a little bit ago, and it was 28, and I actually didn't even wear my coat home because it was feeling kind of nice at 28. So
and at 40, my heat is on.
Well, yeah, I turned my heat on at 40 too, but
yeah, it was it was like 90 on Halloween. And it snowed too on Halloween.
Yes, it was awful on Halloween.
I know.
The wind chill was like 11. because we had like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it was like snowing and damp. It was awful. It was awful.
Gross.
But anyway.
All right. So I saw on Laine's social media the other day that she got Haruki up in some paper bags. So,
Yeah.
and she has them. And it's such a pretty cover.
I think it's pretty too.
I don't even like
so
pink.
pretty.
I think it's a pretty cover. It is a pretty cover. So I'm gonna put her on the spot, and I'm gonna try to get her to sign some of those for us to give away. So
I will be right back. I have to go let my monster out. I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
You're fine. I'm not gonna stand up on camera because I have leggings on. Leggings are not leggings are not pants. I'm sorry to whoever that offends. But yeah, so we're live Friday night. Woo. So Laine has written, how many novels do you have out now?
I just have 2 novels out right now.
Okay. That's it?
Sorry.
I thought we had more than that, Laine.
Well, we have like those 2 novellas.
Novellas, yeah. Because
3.
is I'll Remember out? I've read so many.
That's the next one after Haruki.
Okay. That one's
so
a good one.
How many total do you have published?
She was good. She was fantastic, Sonia.
You have 5, okay.
I just never remember how many she's actually published and how many of them that I've read. So that's the issue. Yeah. So I'm Not Your Teacher is out.
Yep.
Yes. And the second part, cover it to you. And the second part of Haruki comes out when?
January 28th or 30th. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So second part of a duet to the beautiful Haruki book.
Yep.
I don't even think I've seen the cover of that one, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. I'm gonna have a cover reveal in my reader group. December 10th. So
awesome. And after this live feed is done, I will drop Laine's reader group into the comments so that everybody who sees the video can go join. So how do you characterize your books? Like, how would you, if you were going to do an elevator pitch and be like, this is me in a nutshell, what would you say?
What?
Like a quick, like, this is what in a nutshell, this is what I write. So new adult, you already said, right?
So yeah, so I believe in my head that I write new adult, contemporary, dark romance with 5 alarm steam. Okay. For the most part.
I have to agree. They're pretty steamy. Yeah,
so that's what I think I write. Some people have other
quirky girls. All of your girls are pretty quirky.
Yeah, they are.
And I think that they're really cute. Like some of them have some really cute aspects to them.
Yeah, a lot of my girls, and this is, I guess, on purpose. When I was growing up, I guess, or reading and stuff, I'd be like, oh man, there's no girls like me. I would see lots of people, like,
and they are
quirky girls, books. Those are probably the ones that I always read. But I never saw girls like me, like I was like a tomboy and a girly girl. And I don't know, I feel like I even now are like always struggling with identity, and I feel like every girl is always struggling with identity, but it's just a part of life. And I do feel like I do a lot of coming of age things, because I don't know, like I'm a little bit older, like I'm in my 30s, and I didn't come of age until I was like 26. Just because I was very, very sheltered, and that was when I had my life experience. But always want to let everyone know it doesn't matter how old you are, what part of your life you're in, you can still evolve. And I guess that's sort of how my girl characters are. If you notice in, well, you haven't read Haruki, but in Haruki, she she's like 22 and she's just now getting out of that stage of being a child. So yeah,
Awesome.
but
I think it's cool that you write things that you personally can connect to. You're writing, to something you can connect to. Because I know as a reader, I generally enjoy a book better if I can connect to the heroine. Like if I have something in common or I can find the common denominator, I have a more enjoyable experience. So I could see why writing something that you can connect to would be your wheelhouse.
yeah, but like when I look at my friends too, all of them are like super quirky. So it's like more,
Yeah.
I feel like uh when I meet someone, I am more apt to, like, if someone is like, "Oh, I like Panic! At the Disco." Oh my gosh, really? And we're like, "Ah!" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I like Jack Skellington," or there's a reference from like a quirky movie or book that I get, and so that's sort of what it is, like where I write from. Like, I've gotten more friends from Nightmare Before Christmas than I've gotten from just, hanging out. And it was so funny because growing up in high school, being in high school, I wasn't really that popular. I was like, that girl who dances all the time and is, a unicorn princess. And then when I got to college, that's where, like that's kind of was how girls were. They were like, so what, I'm quirky, I love myself, and I am going to be myself. And then finally I was like, hey, quirky girls are cool. So
Awesome.
I
I think that
definitely,
that's something that readers will connect with too, because your writing comes from a very natural place. You're not writing about things outside of like how you feel. So I
yeah.
think that's something that's
Well,
interesting as well.
yeah, I feel like all of my books, like all of them are like my book babies. Like I have like real romances with all my guy characters.
It's
And
okay, so do we. We all have book boyfriends too.
Yeah.
I'm just not cool enough to have written any of my book boyfriends. But yeah, I think that it's like the fandom thing. Like you were talking about with Jack Skellington. It's almost like a fandom. Like you find your set of people based on
right,
fictional things. And
right.
book nerds, I know me especially. Like when I go to signings, I totally will talk to everybody in like line
Hmm.
because we're all there for the
Mhm.
same thing. And it's like, but these are my people. Like you might not know me. And if anybody watching was it shameless, they already know. I have no issue. I will talk to anybody in a line at a book signing because we're all there for the same thing. It's like
Yeah,
lining up for a concert
right.
and not talking to the people around you about the music.
Yeah. But that's how I felt about you, Rachel. Like,
I know.
it was so hard for me because everything was happening and I was like rebooting, rebranding when me and Rachel started talking and you guys, and it was like, it was really scary, but it was like, oh no, I'm home.
Aw.
That's
like
like the best compliment I think I've ever gotten. Like
Yeah.
that's fantastic because that's why we do this thing. Like Dawn and I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoy our authors. We enjoy working with
yeah,
everyone, as Laine knows, because I message her randomly, she messages me randomly, asking random questions back
true,
and forth,
true, true, true.
discussing things that most people just don't discuss in polite conversation. Is my said.
Yeah. Like
I
there's no cast anymore. It's just like,
none.
hey.
But I think that it's a really cool relationship that Dawn and I are able to have with our authors because we don't have bosses. So I can make decisions and Dawn can make decisions and we can do what's best for our authors versus doing what's best for our bottom line necessarily. We didn't set out to get rich. We really just want to help our authors and we want to do what's best for you. Just all of you, anybody watching that wants to publish a book. Like we want to help all the people.
Yeah.
kind of a sickness, actually.
It is.
Right? It's kind of a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know, like when in the industry when I meet authors and stuff, it's so it's so cool because I'm like when I see their books, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that person. Look. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like we can all fangirl over
each other.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, because that's how I know book signings for sure that way. I have a good friend that's an indie author and she only has a few books published and she signed on one day and then went to the signing the next day. And her and I are standing in line for the same author. And I was like, but you write books. Like, but we're standing here waiting for this other lady that writes books. Like, I love it. It's such a cool industry. It's such a cool family to kind of be a part of.
I agree. I agree. Super
I mean,
cool.
Dawn and I have never met in person, but we talk pretty much every day. Like we opened a business together based on this fandom, based on this.
Well, I don't know. I feel like every time you have new red hair, I fangirl for you. Like every time.
Yeah, it's now you can tell my husband's gone. I'm like, okay, no more Ariel hair. But thank you. I love my hair. I love playing with it. I was active duty for a while, so I didn't get to color my hair cool colors.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, what new colors of Manic Panic are there that I can try?
Cool.
But yeah, thank you. I love my red hair.
I do too.
What you got, Dawn?
Red
She's being
hair
quiet.
people. I'm sorry.
No. You're good.
I have like four guys, main characters that have like red hair because that's just like Ron Weasley is like the epitome of men. So
Go Ginger Man. It's all Ron Weasley and what is his? Why can I not think of Prince Harry? I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. I'm bad with names. Ask Dawn. However,
God,
I have never forgotten in my entire
even
defense.
knows your name now, Laine. I mean, she'll say, "Oh, you know that girl Margot," and I'm like, I don't never even heard of her.
She's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, this thing right here, Dawn, it's on the job sheet. And she's like, Rachel, that's not that lady's name. It's written right there. And I'm like,
and it won't even be like an M name. It'll be like Emily or something. And she'll tell me about Margot. Or
it's really bad. My husband thinks it's really funny. We lived on a really small military base in Japan for a long time. And we would see people like out and about. And I was really involved in the community and I volunteered a lot. And I did a lot of outreach. And somebody would run into me at the commissary and they'd be like, oh my God, Rachel, how are you? And I'd be like, oh, hey, honey, how are you? We would walk away and my husband would be like, you don't know her name, do you?
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
But I know who she is.
My husband does that. He knows like everybody at least by face. And like everybody, like he doesn't know a stranger and he's from this area. And I mean, he just, God, he can talk. But he won't introduce me. Like he'll be talking to them like they are best friends or like their family or something. And he won't introduce me. And we'll walk away. I'm like, you don't know who that was, do you? He goes, not a clue. And sometimes he doesn't even know who they are. It's not like he forgot just their name. Like he doesn't even know who they are.
Yeah. I'm 100% guilty. I'm terrible with names. I can recognize a face, but I can't put a face to a name. So yeah, Dawn gets me all the time because I'll message her and be like, hey, have you returned X email? And she's like, I don't even know who that is, Rachel. And I'll screenshot the email and she'll be like, Rachel, that's not who that is. Look, okay, Linda, you know who I was talking about. Just okay. Just embrace it. Rachel cannot remember names. When I talk to authors about books, I will not generally reference character names because I don't remember them.
My character names are so
I can tell you the entire plot of a book, beginning to end. I can't remember the name of the characters. It's that serious. It is really serious.
And we read so many of them, like it really aggravates me. Like I'll read like a book that I'm just like in awe of, and then like I'll go and I'll have some beta reads or proofreads or whatever going on, and then I want to go back and like read more from that author. And unless I write it, I can't remember who it was or what even book it was, or I'll post in like I'll remember a book like like say the following year, like I get in a slump, I'm like, okay, I want to read that book again, but I can't remember the name of the book. I can't remember the characters' names.
When you're going through
And so
good.
I'll post. There's one group, one blogger group. I'm like, okay, does anybody know what I'm talking about here? I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like such and such, and they'll put the link. I'm like, oh my god, it is.
Yes.
Aww.
Or have you ever read a book again and then got like halfway through it and been like, oh, I've read this before.
Yeah.
I've done it, or got on Amazon to buy a book that I saw that I thought I would like, and then it's like, you bought this in 2012.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I've read it, and I do not remember reading said book. That's awesome. Yeah, so I have beta read quite a bit for Laine. A lot of books at this point.
Yeah.
Five or six. So who is your favorite character that you've ever written?
Oh my gosh, he hasn't come out yet. Oh my god.
See, she had to pick one that we couldn't talk about.
I mean, we can talk about it. It's not coming out until like I think March. His name is William Anzai. He's a soccer player.
Oh, I know. We're talking about.
Yeah, so it's a sports romance.
I'm excited to go, and I'm a sucker for a sports romance.
Yeah.
I've only read a couple of.
I'm sorry?
I've only ever read a couple of soccer romances, but
okay. I don't know. He's amazing. Like there's no one else in the world. So, for me,
I'll be right back.
Okay. I love it. I love it. All right. So when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
I don't think it was like a realization. I think that I just have been writing since I was like 5. I remember like when I wasn't able to write, like when I was like 3 and 4, my grandma would be like in the kitchen cooking and stuff, and I would want to write. So I would get paper, crayon, pencil, whatever, and read the stuff that was like in the cupboard and just write these words and like people's names who I knew how to spell and stuff, and then my grandma would read it. I remember one got like the entire house tickled. We had some pineapples, and so I wrote Dole Pineapple Lonnie. Lonnie is my uncle, and for the rest of his life, everyone called him Dole Pineapple Lonnie. For the rest of his currently, we still call my uncle Dole Pineapple Lonnie.
That is awesome.
So
I think
I guess then is when I realized I wanted to be a writer.
And call people funny things.
What?
I said call people funny things, like, you know, don't.
I don't know. My sense of humor is just like embedded into everything. I don't know.
I think that's a great way to be, though, because if you can't laugh about it, you'll cry about it, right?
Yeah, well, I probably had already cried about it. Now it's funny.
Yep.
I think that we all have life moments like that, though. Like that in the moment you cry over it, and then like 2 days later you're like, that was actually kind of funny. Like I probably cried about it.
That's probably how all of my stories started. This is horrible. My life is over. You know what? That would make a good book.
But I could twist it this way, and then that would make it funny.
I'm sorry?
I was saying you could twist it a certain way, and then it would be.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Right, what you feel like should have happened, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So what is the funniest typo that you have ever made?
Oh my god. So.
That's a weird question. I love this question.
So. Me and my sister were emailing my sister, and Sonia are the ones who like do my covers, and we were talking about the series Jack. I had Jack series previously, but I took most of it down, and we're gonna like revamp it when the sister series right before the sister series comes out. But anyway, we were emailing and we were talking about things and said etc. and titles, but
right, the title. So the title of the book was etc. and titties.
Yes, and that's how we got etc. because of the typo.
Yeah. It was
It
meant
was
to be
gonna
better
it was
entitled.
gonna be called Jack and Katie, but after that,
I mean, that's a pretty fantastic one though.
I was like, "This is the name of the book."
I
This,
mean, that's a hell of a way to get a name of a book though. Like
I'm sorry.
I said, that's a hell of a way to get a name of a book.
It is. Well, I don't know. It's the name of a book. So
Amazon probably doesn't appreciate it. I think we've had that conversation. Um, but I feel like they're a little obsessive sometimes anyway. So there could be a whole hour of just bashing Amazon. That can happen.
this is
Yeah.
true. I feel
That would
like
have to be like a YouTube centric thing though, because Facebook would ixnay that one.
Yeah.
They'd be like, sorry, Facebook.
yeah.
Hi,
So
Scott.
I think I know. Go ahead, Dawn.
I just said hi, Scott. I seen Scott just joined.
Hi, Scott. I'm not sure
Hi,
who that is.
Scott. I don't know who that is, but hi, Scott.
He's actually one of my friends. I used to work hospice with him.
Oh, that's nice. That means he's like terribly good person because hospice is not for the weak at heart.
It is not.
So what kind of books do you like to read and who is your favorite author?
I feel bad, but I kind of like to read children's books.
Why would you feel bad?
Like
because
fairy
I
tales
write
or
such steamy stuff.
So are we talking about like children's
Yeah,
or
like Pete the Cat. Like I
okay.
like Pete the
I mean,
Cat. Like every time Pete the Cat comes out with a book, I'm like, yeah, we're getting this.
weird.
are you saying Pete? Like Pete? Like Pete the Dragon?
Yeah.
No,
No.
yeah, you never heard of Pete the Cat?
No.
Oh my god.
For Dawn. That's what's about to happen. Like Blaine's now looking for Pete the Cat. I will send you a screenshot of Pete the Cat.
Oh my gosh, Pete the Cat is the coolest cat ever. He's a blue cat. He wears chucks. First of all, he wears chucks.
He's cooler than like Garfield?
Garfield. Yeah,
Dude,
he
oh
is.
my gosh, like Garfield, Felix, all those cats. Dude, he plays the guitar. If he was a guy, I'd love him. Like he sings all the time. He sings all the time. His books are like singing stories. He has a song, I love my white shoes. I love my white shoes. This is my favorite story. James Dean, favorite author. Bam.
I like that though. I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Sorry.
Look at Dawn's face. Dawn's like confused.
So this Pete the Cat, are they
I
like
haven't heard of him either, Dawn.
stories, like more like picture book kind of thing?
No, they're like
more
little paperback, like
It's
big
like
word.
it's
like
like
Diary of the Wimpy
so it
Kid
started off
kinda?
as a picture book,
Yeah.
but it has like a CD to it. And then it has like I can read stuff. Like it has moved into like this epidemic. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Really?
Like,
I'm gonna have to ask my
You
boys if
should
they've
look
ever
it up.
heard.
I wish that I had them, but I took them all to school because I read to my kids. That's what we do.
So ironically, when I googled Pete the Cat, I love my white shoes came up. I was like,
Yes, that's my
so
favorite
that's
book.
Pete the Cat, and that's Pete the Cat, and that's his white shoes, and this is I love my white shoes.
Okay.
I will screenshot it and send it to you, Dawn. I'll send it to you too, Scott, if you like. They're really cute books for kids.
I need to put
and
this out
they
there.
involve music. They involve kids. It's awesome.
What,
And they have
Dawn?
like really cool characters. I don't know. It's really good. I love it actually. So there you go.
I'll have to check it out. And
you should.
Fair warning, my family is home, so there is about to be some ruckus. Oh crap!
Oh crap!
Okay, it's okay. No, I forgot. I let the dog out. I was just hoping that he didn't run over the dog, but he didn't. It's
poor husband. Poor husband. Like you would have already, if you ran over the dog, you'd already heard about it.
No. So should I tell them what they're bringing home, Rachel, or should I leave that off the air?
No, go ahead. If you want to tell everybody what they're bringing home, go for it. Speaking of hospice, I'm starting on my own hospice, and I need a PRN social worker. Wink, wink. She has too many jobs as it is. You cannot have her. She is mine.
It's been pretty ugly, Scott. I've got a lot of things going on, but no. So
she is mine.
Laine, do you have any pets? Are you
I do not. I'm actually like really allergic to cats.
Well, do you like lizards?
I've never had any pets in my life. Lizards are not, something that I'm not afraid of, so.
Well, we have become here's my little one.
Hi,
We
little
have
one.
don't be talking a whole lot. He'll get to talking just like his daddy. But so we've gotten kind of into the lizards lately. So we have 3 lizards now. And my husband just brought home a colony of funky roaches.
Oh, nice.
To feed Doobie. Doobie. Isn't Doobie like a doobie? Isn't that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, Trestle.
That one's Asher.
Asher. I know.
Hi, Asher. I have a character named Asher. Okay.
Do you? Look at this monster. Can you see this beard? He's 14. He has a beard. And he's shaved. Okay, you're hurting me. But
wait, you're giant. Get off of me.
But no, so they actually just brought home a colony of roaches to feed our lizard.
Doobie. Awesome.
Doobie. We were saying Dubai. I think I like Dubai better because, like I said, isn't Doobie like something else?
Yeah, Doobie is something else. However, somebody in the comments is probably going to correct us and be like, it really doesn't mean that. And then we all know what Rachel's going to look like.
Yeah, if Scott's still watching, he might know.
That's funny. I love that you love children's books, Laine. Like, that's something I didn't know about you. So what book or books of yours would you recommend to everyone? Like, what's the one book of yours that you would recommend? If someone was starting out with you, you're new to them, what would you say read?
Definitely I'm Not Your Teacher. I'm Not Your Teacher is probably, if you're looking for the kind of stuff that I write that, is going to come out, like, that is probably the best story you could read.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
You're fine. Anyone watching this that doesn't have kids, that should be like decent birth control. Like, that's what having children is like.
Did you just hear my little one fart before he left the room?
Nope, I didn't.
Farting, and then shuts the light off on me. And then my husband brings the roaches in to show me the roaches. I'm on a live here, people.
I love guys. They're so...
Everyone...
They were pressed. I'll say
Dawn and I both admin for a specific author, this specific author actually, and everyone every once in a while in that specific group will tag Dawn in like moms of boys posts that are incredibly funny, and I'm always like, that's what you get.
Or Facebook jail.
That's because you're a jailbird. That's so funny.
I haven't been in jail since March, though. And that was a 30-day stint. I think they're about to yank my account from me if I go too much more. Anyway,
Scott is an angel. Thank you, Scott, for at least, not leaving us out there, on our own on that doobie ledge. However, I work for myself, so just saying. Laine's like, this went really sideways.
I'm sorry.
It usually goes really sideways.
Hey, I think sideways is good. I feel like my books go sideways. Like when I outline, I'm like, yes, this is such a cute story, and then
your characters go a little rogue. One of my best friends on the whole planet, from real life, is an author, and she's always like, so I have this in mind, and then my characters go, that's funny, we're gonna go over here.
Yeah. There was only supposed to be one book for Haruki. Only. There was never 2 books.
Hey, Monique, are you watching yet?
Oh my God.
Because she's released a second book in what is going to be a trilogy that was only supposed to be one book initially.
I have no idea how it happened. Like, we had already gotten finished with Haruki. And then I messaged my editor and was like, hey, ... So I have another novel for you. It's kind of the second book of Haruki. Like, what? We're getting ready to release. And I'm like, yeah, but we have to finish the story. It's because I know you don't know Haruki, but he is very
Sonia,
quirky, very eccentric.
LMAO truth.
I'm sorry.
Sonia said truth.
Okay. So he's very quirky, he's very eccentric. And I would like go to sleep and he would be in my head talking. And I would have like these scenes of him doing stuff that, is him. And it would be like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd be like, I have to go to work in the morning. Chapter.
New chapter, new book, and it just happened. I think that that's awesome, though. Aside from the fact that people talking in your head is strange, but not in our world, because all of our people have people that talk to them in their heads.
Yeah. They have to come out. They want to be alive, and we can birth
Sounds
them.
like porn. If you have never read a romance book and you start out with Laine's, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Scott, you need to
because they are not like one alarm fires. They are like 5.
Well, I also think my romances are like really different from the romances that
they are not written to market. They're definitely not your run of the mill boy falls in love with girl, they end up happily ever after. Definitely not.
Yeah.
And they are almost all interracial, correct?
Yeah, like almost all of them are multiracial, multicultural, interracial. Yeah, like Haruki is a Japanese American.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Well, I dig it. It's different. I don't read books. I watch movies. Ha ha. Well,
how about the audiobook?
You're missing a whole experience. There's a boom and I'll remember it. That is hot.
Oh my God,
okay, there's like a lot of boom boom scenes, and I'll remember that are not what you want to read at the gym. I have a friend that read 50 Shades at the gym on her iPad, like running on the treadmill. I was like, I don't know how you're doing it because I'm turning red like from the chest up for you because I know what you're reading.
Yeah, but if she's already running on the treadmill, she's probably already flushed.
But still, my brain doesn't function like that. Like,
that's funny.
I would probably be groaning out loud, and people would probably be thinking, "What the heck is wrong with her?"
Okay, I have to stop. Okay, I can't breathe. I don't know, in a room full of people. I'm not a voyeur. This is odd. Not that I'm ashamed of what I read because I read in public all the time, like paperbacks with naked women. Like I've read Monique Ogeron's books, and they all have naked women on, not naked, lingerie women on the front. And I've read them like at the doctor's office because I have no shame. I have no shame about what I'm reading. It's just the hot parts. I'm like, oh, this feels really dirty. Like,
one of my coworkers got Dirty Wishes and was like reading it in the resource room, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Where was she reading it?
Dirty Wishes. Have you read it?
Yeah.
Where was she reading it though?
In our lunch room, we call it the resource room. Yes, and I'm like, no, we don't, no, do that at home. No,
hard pass, stop. No.
Right, I was like,
I appreciate the support, but you can't read that in front of me.
Right, I mean, like, there's literally a lady in like black handcuffs on the cover. Can you not, please?
Walk away.
So does that like, has your family read your books?
Oh God, like, no, they don't even know I'm Laine Watson. You shush. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Like, okay. I think just my sister and my stepmom. Yeah.
Okay.
She was on break. Right? She was enjoying that break, Scott. Let me tell you, I've read Dirty Wishes. She was enjoying that break. She was enjoying that break.
She was walking funny going back to work.
This one's gonna be terrible. I apologize, everyone. Dawn and I are not like super professional. It is not a thing, and it is Friday night. Okay.
And I mean,
And
I mean, you know, it's
if you
that's
don't
what
read
genre
romance,
I write in. So
yeah. And if you don't read romance, you wouldn't get it. My husband, it's really funny. When I first started reading a lot of indie romance, he was like, you are legitimately reading porn. And I was like, I am getting my porn in words. I mean, you watch
But you
it.
know what?
He doesn't. That's not what I'm saying. Sorry, husband. But like, it's a thing. Okay, I'm intellectually porn here. Like, being professional.
I'd like to think that
Yeah, he's not.
my stories have like, they do have lots and lots of, you know, dirty parts. So I can't, you know.
But
Anyway.
there is substance. Like, there
I
is a
like, well,
whole story
not
part.
necessarily Dirty Wishes. Dirty Wishes was definitely about sex. Anyway.
A lot of it with multiple people, not at the same time, but different times. Yeah. Hey,
very,
I'm all
very
about it.
intense.
You do you. My mother-in-law might watch this.
Yeah, that's why you should start with this. If you're not very comfortable, you should start with this.
Yeah,
is that one calmer?
It is calmer. It is, you know, there's
yeah,
like a really hot
it's
scene at the end.
a slow burn. Yeah, it's a slow burn. Like, there's not a lot in a lot of it, and it's not what you think it is. Like, anyone that doesn't like Student Teacher, that's not really what it is. So if that's what's holding you back from reading that book, read it anyway.
It's definitely a coming of age book.
I
like Student Teacher personally.
Coming into her own and figuring out who she is and what she wants.
Most of all of my books are going to be like that. The girl is always trying to figure out, and the girl will always help the guy figure out his stuff. Always.
Yeah,
because
sure.
that's what we do. Come on, let's be honest.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. No, I think because I got asked that I should write a book on my younger years. It would be a book to read. Laine should hook me up and I'll give her my story to write. You know, if you went to I would have to find the website, but there is a website for ghostwriters. So you can give them your story, they can write it and publish it under their name.
It's like whenever a lot of people at my job has said that to me, like, oh my gosh, like they've read a book and they're like, so I had a really trying upbringing, can you make mine beautiful? I'm like, of course. Yeah, so when Haruki, like, I took off work and everyone knew why I was taking off work because I told my boss, and then she told this like really little old lady. We have like this little old lady who just will not retire at our job. And when I came back, they're like, "You have a book? Oh my gosh!" And I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm like famous at work. What happened? Hey, how you guys doing?" They're like, "Let's take a picture together, just in case she gets famous." No, just so. I really
male romance though, Scott. It's a big thing. If
it
you
really is right now.
You don't know a lot about it, you should listen to this podcast called Audibly Addicted. And there's a Joel Frumpkin episode, and he is a pretty much LGBTQ narrator, and they talk a lot about it. But male romance is huge. So
it really is.
There's
a lot on audiobooks too.
A lot. Do you listen to audiobooks, Laine?
Only Harry Potter. That's the only one I have.
Oh, I love those. Those are like an automatic read for me once a year. Listen, read.
How are the voices? Like, do they?
So the guy who does it, Jim Dale, he is
he's done all of them.
Yeah, and he does them all. It's just him.
Yeah, it's cool too. My favorite one, I don't read all of them, but my favorite one, obviously, because, you know, the one that's about Ron Weasley having a girlfriend. By the way, I was Lavender Brown several years for Halloween.
I can see it.
Anyway, yeah, so I like, you know, the Half-Blood Prince. That's like my favorite. That's what I read mostly. So.
I can get as in detail as you like. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. There's a whole subgenre of male. Yeah, I pretty much exclusively listen, aside from reading for work. Now I am reading a saga right now that got me hooked. It's like a mob saga, but I listen almost exclusively for the most part. What are you listening to right now, Dawn?
Why do you do that to me?
Because you don't
KK
talk to me.
Allen. KK Allen, Center of Gravity. I just finished up KK
Waterfall
Allen
effect.
Waterfall Effect. Yes, that is.
So, Laine, do you read romance at all?
Sometimes I read romance, but I don't know, I struggle with romance movies. Um and cuz like I get so involved, and it's hard for me to move on. Like I mean, I'm sure everyone has the same thing. I haven't read any in like years and years and years. Um
Because you're
let's
building that backlist, my friend.
This is true. I've been writing for like the last 5 years. Like every time that I like open my eyes, I'm like, whatever. Yeah. So
That's cool.
I get super like involved.
I do too.
Well,
I
and
do
and
too.
it's not easy to write. I mean, I knew like a lot of the authors that we work with and stuff, they always say that they have the voices in their head or they're, so and so's wanting to get their story out. And it's not that easy. Even if they're talking to you, it's not that easy to get it out in a
It's not.
what makes sense.
In
You
like
know what
a
I mean?
legible way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For it to make sense
Yeah.
to somebody else, I think
Yes.
sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, I hate my first drafts when I get it back from my editor. It's like only read. Even sometimes from Rachel. I'm like, if there's so many comments, what are these comments?
Yeah. If anybody watches this later and you've never had Dawn or I read for you, what she's talking about is a beta copy. And it's generally sent to us either after the first edits or before the editor even touches it in a lot of cases. And if you've worked with me, you know I'm a pretty, I wouldn't say harsh. I try not to be harsh, but I can definitely rip a manuscript apart. But if you ask Laine, I'm not. I know Dawn isn't. Dawn's much nicer about it than I am.
Well,
She is.
the
She
good
is.
thing about
I
it,
am the one that will highlight something. Laine can attest to this and put like WTF, like because I don't understand like
but
what
it's legitimate. Like it's legitimate. Like
what
sometimes I get so into what I'm writing, I have not written what I was thinking, and it's like,
Well, and we all. I don't read
rest of
books,
the
but like
sentence.
I get ahead of myself in text messages. Like I sent Dawn a text message earlier that said, "I'm not Kim," and I meant I'm not. LOL.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
like
really,
that.
you lost me with that one too.
Yeah, she says you like question marks regularly, but I think we all do it in our brains get ahead of our mouths or our fingers, and we.
Especially when I'm writing the love scene, my editor is always like, "Yeah, I could tell you were either crying here, or you were off somewhere."
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know a lot of issues like that I know I see in books in like the beta process is movement. Because you know what it's supposed to look like, but it doesn't necessarily translate to words. And then a lot of other issues that I've seen is like regional dialects. I know Laine and I have had that discussion.
yeah,
Like, I don't know what this means. And that's a big thing. Like, cause I'm from the South. Dawn's from Ohio. Laine's originally from St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for me, we have an author that's from Louisiana. I speak Louisiana fluently. And Dawn will be like, "What does this mean?" It's because it's regional. And that's a big thing for a lot of people because there's things like I read a book that was by a Canadian author one time, and she was talking about Scrapple. and it's like this meat byproduct that they have like from like Pittsburgh North. And I was like, what is this? And it's pretty much like spam, but it's called this other thing. And I was like, yeah, somebody should have explained that to me. Like, put it in the thing. Go Blue. You're a mess.
I'm a Michigan fan as far as
It
football
lives
goes.
in Ohio.
I am from Northwest Ohio.
I don't care. I feel like that is sacrilege. That would be like me saying I'm an Oklahoma fan. That's like, you could get burned at the stake for that.
Ohio State fans are crazy. They really will.
I'm a UT fan. That's, I think you get burned at the stake for that.
Like, you better not go to Columbus wearing anything blue. It just
That's
won't.
And one of my best friends is from Detroit, so her and her husband are Ohio haters, which I just find funny. But yeah, so those are things like, if there's an author watching this, and you're afraid to send your manuscript to someone, I'm not saying send it to us necessarily. I'm just saying send it to someone. Let somebody else look at it. And if that person isn't going to give you, let's say, good criticism, like if they can't put into words what's wrong with it, they're not worth your time or trouble. Personal opinion.
Well, the good thing about your beta reads and proofreads, or you say what you feel about everything. If something needs work, you say that. If it's good, you say that. That is what I feel makes a good beta reader and editor. I sometimes, when my editor rips my baby apart, I feel so sad, and I'm like, it's so red. But then I read these other parts where she's like, this is good, this is great, this is perfect. Like, I've even gotten a perfect from, or I love this from Rachel, and that makes me feel like, okay, I can still do this. This is still, a good book. This just needs to change, because, they're not saying your book is bad. It's just saying, I want to understand
this
more.
little line right here just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes
it legitimately didn't.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's just the person too. Like, for me personally, I generally go through a manuscript twice, depending on my time crunch, because sometimes it just depends on my mood as well. Sometimes some things hit me differently the second time I read it versus the first time I read it. Sometimes it's my own frame of mind, because as beta readers, editors, proofreaders, we're all human. We all have real lives. We're all, at different stages in our lives. So that's also something, because I've read some books, even books like from authors that I like, and everyone's raved about it, and then I read it and I'm like, it's all right. And then I can go back to it, say 6 months later, and I'm like, oh, I see why everybody loved it. It was just where I was at that time.
Yeah.
And positive feedback as well as constructive negative feedback, because constructive is the important part there.
Right.
Because Dawn is actually who taught me how to go through a manuscript and be like, this made me laugh. That was something I had never really done before. In the first beta read I did that she alphaed, I saw her comments, right? And I was like, whoa, I never thought of that. And so I got to where I would do the same thing. Like, I would highlight parts in the book, like Laine knows. I really loved this line. This would be a good teaser. This made me tear up. This made me laugh. Because I think that love, positive, respectful feedback. It's important. It's important. It's important to respect the person's book, and just try to be honest.
And even those characters that you hate, that you're supposed to hate, I'm like, oh, I can't stand that witch, or oh, I hope she enters, or what you thinking, or yeah.
Yes, negative. Yeah, so that's something I tell, like, Laine knows, because I gave her the talk before I ever beta read for her. I was like, look, I'm gonna rip it apart. I'm already telling you going in. It's not all gonna be positive. It's always going to be respectful. I am respectful of your books, even if you get like a WTF, because it's generally, I'm just confused. Because because I am a get what you see kind of gal. Like, this is just me. If you ever talk to me on the phone, I drop a lot of F-bombs. I do. It's like my favorite word. It's the most expressive word I can think of. But I think that that's something that's super important for authors to know. Like, if you have to put your work out there, it's going to get negative. It's at some point, something negative is going to happen. Somebody is not going to like it. You can't write to everybody's.
And I see beta reading it, it doesn't do any good if we're not honest. If something comes across as funny and it wasn't supposed to be funny, you know what I mean? Or even if, like she said, I don't understand this, or this doesn't make sense, or why would she do that, or you know what I mean? It's not. What's the point if it's not going to help you? You know what I mean? So the whole point of beta reading, I
Agreed.
think, is to see how the book comes across, because you know the story in your head. That doesn't mean that you wrote it to match that. You know what I mean? And some, like
Yeah,
you said, sometimes you
definitely.
get carried away or whatever in a scene, and it doesn't come across quite how you wanted it, and that's important for you to know. So
Absolutely. I definitely agree 100% because there are some things like in some of my stories that were like, red flags. Like, no, 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 no. We have to do this in a different way. Or, we don't want to because the thing about that I feel about writing romance is that sometimes it has to be a little flowery. It can't be like too realistic
Right.
because
Well, it has to take you somewhere, right?
right, yeah, like I mean, it's more about the feeling that you get rather than just the like action or like oh he put his hand here, but um so and sometimes I struggle with conveying that emotion, um uh oh I'm a lister too, so
I did hear about the list.
I'm a lister. Sorry.
Yeah. We all, I mean, because I mean, I've read traditionally published books that I could have torn apart in a beta process. I mean, and we all know some books like that. And it's just a thing, and we're all human. So it's, it's a process. It's a process for everyone. And I joke with authors when they take me on as a beta. I said this joke to Laine herself. I was like, look, this is more like a gynecologist relationship, right? Like, you have to be super comfortable with your gynecologist or it doesn't work. So for a beta reader, alpha reader, an editor, a proofreader, you have to be super comfortable with that person.
Agreed.
But if you're not, the process doesn't work.
Agreed. Yes.
It's a thing, and not everybody fits together.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
And it's not necessarily one person's fault or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like having, like your favorite waitress or your favorite beverage. It's a getting comfortable thing.
Yeah, and who you can get comfortable with.
Right.
I know a
You
lot of
can highlight in their book and be like, this is a super big checklist, fix it.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of different editors and stuff, and I know my anxiety really some may get on people's nerves because you have no idea how many times I message Rachel with just like outlandish questions, but it's not outlandish to me because I'm freaking out.
Right.
Exactly.
And and like I said at the beginning, I know for me for a fact, I know Dawn for a fact, it's something that's the reason we did this. Behind the scenes is Dawn and I. So it's a personal relationship that we build with our authors. And we just try to get to know you. Like, you can ask Laine, we send out a questionnaire. Like, hey, I just need to know some things about you. Like, I just need to get to know you a little. Laine and I have talked on the phone because I need to know where your head is so that I can know where the book is.
Right. Agreed. I I think my editor is like my sister. Like
Yeah.
legit. Like I there's no one who's closer to me. When like my real life stuff happens, it's like Sonia, I'm, and then Rachel, and then I tell the people that are like actually in the room with me. So
Yeah. It's a cool thing though. It's a cool thing. I like all of our rapport building, as I'm calling it.
yeah, I definitely think you should know people because then you know the books. Like, oh, because maybe if you're editing or proofreading, beta reading for someone you don't know, maybe there was like a joke in there that could have been said differently, but you know that it's a joke if you know the
Aw,
word.
funny.
Because sometimes, how many times have you read something and you were like, dude, I could totally hear her saying that. You know what I mean? Or something. And I appreciate getting to know. I appreciate when you reached out to me, Dawn. I appreciate you guys because this is really hard. Authoring is very hard.
Yeah, put your baby out there. Like you said, you call it your book baby, and
Yeah.
I can definitely imagine putting your, like, because authors devote so much of themselves into
Right.
books,
Hmm.
um, it's really kind of like cutting a piece of yourself out and like, okay, here, look at this really imperfect piece of me. Even if it's perfect, it's
Hmm.
still
Yep.
anxiety inducing
Yeah.
and all of those things. Yeah, and even like we have an author that's Australian, and I
Mhm.
had to message Dawn and be like, "Is she Australian?" Because she's Dawn's author, and how we do proofreads and betas. If Dawn beta reads it, I proofread it, and vice versa, so that there's a new set of eyes on the book. So she was like, "Yeah, she's Australian," and I was like, "Okay." That was important to know because her spelling is a little different
Ah.
and of the terminology is different. So, but like I said, we have an author that we work with regularly that's in Louisiana. Um, and I even had to tell her, like, hey, you have to curtail some of these regional things that you're talking about because nobody else understands what you're talking about. I get it. I speak
I
Louisiana.
think I think that that was the biggest thing. My very very first book was the Jack series, the Eccentricities, and I like Dirt. And I think when everyone got it, everyone was like, wait, what's happening? Because there's so much slang and, what you were talking about, regional dialect or whatever. Even when
Right.
I went back and read it as, from, I wrote it like 4 years ago. And then I went back and read it this year after you were baiting. I was like, what? Even I was like, wait.
Huh?
So, because on your author journey, you learn a lot, and it's like, okay, I get it now.
Well,
Um,
and you grow. I know you and I talked about that the other day. You begin to grow as an
right.
author. You grow as a writer, as a storyteller. Your voice changes. Just
Yes.
stages
Yeah.
in your life change the way that you think about things, the way you see things, the way you feel
Absolutely.
things.
Right. So now that I'm like self-editing Jack for the re-release, it's like, first of all, there's so much like I don't. There's so much clutter, and that I thought was so important when I first wrote it because I mean it's my book baby. Every word is important.
Right.
Right.
Which we understand.
But
I get it.
but if my mind is cluttered, I can only imagine how the reader feels.
Right.
And I'm like,
Right.
let's move this out. It's kind of like having like a 14-word sentence and bringing it down to, the subject
Yeah.
and verb, type deal. So
Conveys
I
the same thing, just less words. Yeah.
yeah, you
I
say
would
the same
compare
thing.
that to like Stephen.
Less words, more feeling, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yes. I always compare that to Stephen King. Stephen King is incredibly wordy. His books are huge.
Well,
Whereas most of us are painting a picture this big, like Stephen King is painting a mural on the side of 1,000 square foot building.
wow.
He's
Yeah.
painting a huge picture for everyone, where he really just could have painted this one square, and it still would have been a good book.
And as impactful.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean, The Stand is, I think, the unabridged version is like 1,400 pages.
oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
It's like a 29-hour audiobook. It's huge.
On one of my whips, I think when my editor got it, it was the first book in a 6-book series. It was like 120K, and it was just basically it was just my feelings about the character. And like when I got back and like half the book was gone, I was like, what happened?
What did you do? Why did you do that to me?
Like, you erased me. Feel like it's not about you though. We're trying to know the characters. We
You're so vain. The song is not about you. I'm just kidding.
yeah, like this book is not about you. What are you talking
Video
about?
is legitimately about you, so you can be as vain as you want.
I was gonna say, it was like there's like 3 paragraphs of like what you think is gonna happen. Just get that out of there. Like, you wrote the book. We don't. We just want to know what happens.
That's
So
funny.
yeah,
Are you
so
listening
it
that
is very devastating. The very first edit for each series or book is always the most devastating. It's like, oh my god, you took this part out. It's my favorite. There was a part in I think Haruki. Yeah, it was a part in Haruki where she was staring at him because he like told her to look at him or something, and she like said it out loud. She said stare, and my editor took it out, and I legitimately wrote her back and said, don't take me out of the book. That is my presence.
That's me.
So
In the
eventually
back.
it did get taken out because it didn't go with it. So I did have to take it out. When you get to actually publishing, you become very objective. You're like, wait,
Maybe they were.
So
maybe that comment wasn't meant to like take blood. She wasn't really trying to take blood. She was really just trying to be like, hey, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like I don't know. It was like a quirky moment for me, and I like laughed so hard, and I like took it personally, and then I deleted it.
And then we were like, okay, over my feelings. I get what
right.
you're saying. Fine.
Yeah.
I guess. Sonia, you hear her, right? You hear her? She's over here talking about you.
Yeah.
So not to see you try it, right? But I think that it's definitely a cool process. If you've never been on the inside of the indie publishing process, it's super interesting. I imagine it's much different than a trad publisher as well, because it's a process. It is a process. Thank you, Sonia, for
absolutely. Agreeing. I couldn't do this without her, like, at all.
No, like, she's fantastic. I've read a book after she's edited it. She's fantastic.
Yeah, like really, like legit, like, and the stuff that she says needs to come out. Even if I'm in my feelings, I'm completely like, oh my gosh, she's right. I don't want her to be right, but she's right.
I don't like it. We'll just accept it.
Right, and I tell her, and she's still like the kindest, sweetest, and she's like, it's okay.
Yep. But I think that it's for sure
you have to remember why you guys do it. It is because you know the industry, and you love the author, and you want us to do the best we can. So
if you're watching this and you're thinking about us, I promise I didn't pay her to say this. She is just really a genuine person and is awesome, and we really enjoy working with her. You'll see a lot of Laine Watson all over our stuff. She's kind of been with us from the jump.
Yeah, like from when I was rebranding, like you guys. Yep. I think my first republished book,
somebody has playing in the background.
What happened?
Yeah, no.
From when I was rebranding, like you guys.
It's playing back. I don't know why. Donna, are you on your phone? Somebody has playing in the back.
What's happening?
I think Yeah. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I think she had us like on her phone and it was playing the live video back.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I can hear myself like 20 seconds later. Yeah, we definitely care about our authors.
Yeah.
I try playing regularly for that reason. Unless I'm asleep and then she has to hear from me the next day. My
Don't
fault.
cry, Sonia.
Sonia. She's gonna make me cry. If you ever
Don't
want to come
cry.
do this with us, Sonia, you're more than welcome. We'd love to have an editor on here so you can kind of, tell people about how you do your thing. We're all about sharing the wealth.
Definitely. She's super cool. You're back.
So, Laine's next release is January, right?
I'm sorry.
Your next release is in January?
It is. It's the second book. Arima.
So, Laine's next release is she's playing it back again. No.
Sorry.
Your next release is in January? It's weird.
It is. Oh well.
It happens, right? The Facebook thing. Oh my gosh, I'm so shy live. I have an accent. So
Your voice is so cute. What are you talking about?
do it, Sonia.
Do it.
I have to really watch my P's and Q's live because once again, the F bomb is my favorite. It is, and I'm really bad about it. All right, so I think we're gonna let you go for tonight. It is almost 9:30.
Okay.
But we really enjoyed having you. I will post in the group in the comments when this is over. Laine, thank you for coming. You're more than welcome to come back anytime you feel like chatting with us live.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe next time we'll jump on Instagram. Great job, ladies. Thank you, Sonia. Have a good night. We will be giving away probably a couple of copies of Paperback of Haruki. I will get with Laine about that, and we will decide when to do that. But it is a beautiful book. I'm personally going to buy one for myself and put it on my shelf because they're beautiful. Thank you, Laine, for coming. Yeah, there went Dawn.
You're welcome.
I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate all your support. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.